Are you wanting to explain communion to a child and don't know how to do that? Well, that's what today's video is about, so keep watching. Hi, my name is Sean. Welcome if you are new. I would love for you to subscribe to this channel. I post new videos every Tuesday and Wednesday, so hit that red subscribe button down below and ring that little bell to get notifications. So let's get into today's video. Explaining communion is difficult to children because children do not think abstractly, they think in the now. So they're very literal. So whatever you show them and explain to them, that's what they believe, and they have trouble with understanding abstract. I think I read a book, actually I know I read a book and studied in some training I did last year that abstract thinking doesn't start until going through the whole puberty, middle school, preteen phase. So we've got to be very literal in how we explain communion. So I'm going to give you a suggestion on how to do that. I'd like to point you to a free download I have about how to raise a Jesus-loving child. So I will post a link to that free checklist in the description box down below. So if you are trying to raise your child in the Christian tradition, then you might be interested in that checklist in knowing the basic ways to help form your child in the Christian faith. Is it a perfect checklist? No. Is it going to be for everybody? No, but it's a good starting point. So that will be linked in the description box down below. Disclosure, I am coming from the United Methodist Faith Tradition. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church with that faith tradition, but my theology aligns more with the United Methodist Church. So this example of communion is going to be from a United Methodist perspective. So if that is not you, then this video might not be for you. But if you're not sure what faith tradition you are, then United Methodist is a good place to start. In the United Methodist tradition, communion is a sacrament, which means that God's grace and presence is present in the act of communion. And communion is a time in a church service where you partake of bread and juice. But this is the bread that I had in my house. We actually prefer Hawaiian bread. My family, we get really excited when a church serves Hawaiian bread because it's very filling and it's very tasty. And grape juice is always good. My son, when he was first taking communion, he refused to take the grape juice because he didn't like grape juice, but he loved the Hawaiian bread, so that got him excited to partake and be active in communion. So you want to explain to your child that juice and bread are always present in communion. You can call it communion, Lord's Supper, Eucharist. Any of those are appropriate terminology. Along with the juice and bread, God's grace is always present. So how this is present is mystery. And I have talked about this whole element of mystery and things that are related to God, and in that we don't really know exactly what happens. We know that Jesus is present in communion in the act of receiving and eating the bread and the juice, but as United Methodists, we're not quite sure how that happens. So Catholics and Baptists have more of an understanding and are on complete opposite ends, but I don't want to really get into the differences between the denominations, so I'm going to stick with just the United Methodist one. That there is an element of mystery that is present in the eating of the juice and the bread, and so it's okay as parents to say that we don't understand all of what happens in communion. We just know that we are sharing a meal with Christ together as part of God's family. So a pastor is the one who presides and says the special words and the scripture over the elements, which are the bread and the juice of the communion table. And in the United Methodist tradition, this is someone who has to be an ordained clergy person. However, the United Methodists believe in an open table, which means that anybody is free to partake of the elements. Eat the grape juice and the wines. We don't limit anyone. So even children are allowed to come forth and eat the bread and drink the juice, because we believe that even though they don't understand fully what is going on, that they don't have to, that God's grace is extended to them as well. So anybody is welcome to come to the table. So the scripture that is read during communion is from Luke chapter 22 verse 19 and 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 24. So if you are interested in hearing those well-known scriptures, I invite you to look those up yourself, and I will post those in the description box down below for you to explore further what will be read and said during communion. What's wrong, Baba? You want to come sit with Mama? All right, so Finley was getting a little fussy and she's going to come and join us for the rest of this video. So you'll want to explain to your child what happens during communion for your church, and this could vary, but you'll want to prepare them to know what to expect. So I like to say, if your church does Intinction, which means that they have one cup and then you get a piece of bread and everybody dips into the same cup, you want to make sure that you explain to your child that they'll be dipping their portion of the bread in the juice, but to not put their fingers in the juice. That's very important, and I've seen that happen so many times. But when your child receives the bread, I always like to instruct them to hold their hands out, and then that way the pastor or whoever is giving the bread can put it in their hands, and then the person will say, "This body broken for you." And then when you have the cup, then they will say, "This blood shed for you, his blood shed for you." She now has my cup. Okay, well, hopefully that's clean. That's not clean. Oh well, your mouth has already touched it. A lot of churches also do the method where you have the individual cups, and sometimes you come forward to get them, and sometimes they're passed down the pew. But the individual cups, you would just take one. You want to instruct your child to just take one, drink the juice, and then put it back in. A lot of times you do this at the altar railing, and there'll be places to put the juice cup in the altar railing. And after you take your juice and you eat your bread, you kneel at the altar rail, and that's a time for you to ask for God's forgiveness. And a lot of times, instead of Hawaiian bread, there will be some large homemade bread, which is nice, or there will be the crackers. And I'm not a big fan of the crackers. I know some of you guys are. And growing up in my home church, we did the crackers that were just stale wafers. And I understand the whole significance of unleavened bread in scripture, but really, Hawaiian bread is tastier. And I know that the tastiness of the bread is not what it's all about, but for kids, I don't know why I keep slapping my knee. Sorry about that. I keep slapping my knee during this. But I know that when you explain communion to a child and there are things that they enjoy about it, then they're much more open to having a positive experience of church. And so it will become more meaningful, and they will look forward to it, and they will begin, over time, they will begin to understand more of what it means. If there is a specific topic that you would like for me to discuss on how to explain something in the Christian faith to a child, then please leave that question down in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer your questions or point you in the right direction. I will also post a link to another video or two in the description box down below that would be helpful in explaining communion, Lord's Supper, Eucharist to your child down below. I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hello. If you come from a different faith tradition, oh my goodness. You are just completely eating my communion cup. Oh, child. I did not sanitize that.